Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Writer's Room. Remember, if you like them, hit like and subscribe, and you might even want to touch that little bell notification button so you know when we put up more episodes. I'm here today with Brian Pigg, author of Dark Lady, and we're going to talk about monsters in literature, in movies, whatever we feel like talking about. So, thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, I thought of this topic because I like the idea of having monster characters. Often in fantasy, particularly in the standard fantasy, you know, dragons are bad or orcs are bad, minotaurs are bad. And I don't think that's true because, just because one person is good and one person is bad doesn't mean all people are bad. Why would all monsters be bad? So there might be interesting things to research there, like, language barriers or something, but still, just because it's an orc doesn't mean it's a bad monster.
Yeah, well, one of the few times you get to see orcs in, like, Lord of the Rings, they actually kind of talk like people. Not the Uruk-hai when Pippin and Merry with them, but later when Sam is spying on them, he's wearing the ring in Cirith Ungol, and they're like, yeah, the guys on top, man, they're just like, terrible. And of course they hate all their officers. And like, when this is over, I'm just going to head out to some mountains and set myself up. And and they just sound like, kind of grunts in any war, or in any army. They're not happy about being there, and they're looking forward to it being over, so they go do what they want,
Right. And I think that makes for interesting writing fodder. So that, sure, a dragon might be powerful, but just because it's powerful and has a big pile of treasure it's laying on doesn't mean it's necessarily bad for your character. Again, as a white male, I'm probably going to be writing human characters because that's my experience. It's something I can write from, but to have them meet other things that are now characters, I find that sort of stuff sort of very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, your definition of bad is very subjective. So what your humans think is bad may not be bad from the monster's point of view. They have a different moral standard of something.
And like in the comic book world, you only really get that with like the Hulk, right? He's good, but he's sort of like bad good. He's incredibly useful, but he's angry and big monster, and he runs up and attacks things. But he has this backstory, and I don't see why you couldn't do that with other things, right? Your dragon might have a backstory and reason why he's now part of your team or your story or something. He's important. He just happens to breathe fire,
Yeah, I was trying to think of an example with an actual monster. I'm coming up short a little bit, but did you see the movie The City of Z or something? I read the book. It's an interesting book. It's about this guy who was a British explorer in the 1920s, I think, and he kept exploring Brazil and all the Amazon jungle, various places. And first of all, you're like, why does anybody want to do this? Because, of course, they're wearing all these clothes, and the natives are pretty much naked because, it's 100% humidity, 100 degrees all the time. So you get these descriptions of how their flesh is like rotting off their bones. They're basically like trench foot everywhere, I guess. But they're still wearing all these clothes. But so you're thinking, what's the appeal? But basically, at some point, he never comes back. Okay, and this is an actual historical guy, and so we don't really know what happened to him. Percy something was his name, I can't remember. But anyway, so in the movie, when you get to the point past which we actually don't know what happened to him, because he just wanders off into the jungle with the natives that he was friends with, saying, "Hey, the next group you're going to meet, they're not friendly." And he's like, oh, but he was very good at making friends with people who weren't friendly, so including the people I think he was probably with at the time. So he's like, well, it's just one more group that doesn't, want to be friendly, but I've done this dozens of times before, so what's different about this group? So he goes off. We never hear from him again. But in the movie, when they try to give some kind of ending to the movie, right? The natives kill him, but when you see the subtitles, they're doing things like, this guy is a strange guy, and maybe we need to send him off to talk with his gods for a while or whatever. So from their point of view, it's like they're kind of helping him. I mean, they know they're killing him, but they see this sort of bigger picture of this guy came here, he doesn't belong here, maybe he needs to go chat with his gods or whatever. So you get the monster in terms of their slaughtering him, but on the not monster in terms of their intentions, I guess. So you more complex that way with your non-human characters too.
It's actually a pretty rare thing in at least American cinema for the monsters to be part of the good side of the equation. And that probably goes more to our fears, our natural fears of the unknown and the dark or whatever. But I just find that really interesting area to explore so that you get more depth to more things as your characters have to work with this new reality. That's interesting.
Yeah, we don't get a lot in. I was just thinking Star Trek because I just read an article about the new Picard TV show. But that was one of the things that they tried from the beginning, was that there are all these different kinds of people, and no one reacts to them like, oh my gosh, that's a blue person, or that person's really a plant, or whatever, and they just go with it, right? Because everybody is different, and infinite diversity, infinite, combination. So in the mid 60s when it came out, it was a little bit out there, but now we're seeing more of that. In fact, that episode, the Let This Be Your Last Battlefield with Frank Gorshin and Lou Antonio playing the aliens, and one's black on one side and white on the other, and then the colors are reversed. And Frank Gorshin at some time is trying to convince Kirk that Lou Antonio's character is evil. And he's like, yes, but we're different. And they're like, well, you're half black and half white, and he's half black and half white. And then Frank Gorshin's like, yes, but he's like half black on the left side, and it's you're like, and right, and then all the characters are also doing that. So even like you pan past, I think, Uhura and Sulu, and they're like having a break, and they're like in another room. So like you're going down the hallway, and you see them in this room, and they're like, yeah, I don't know what this is all about. I mean, Earth had that problem years ago, but who cares, right? So they tried to show that right from the very beginning, but I guess they're still trying to do that all now with Romulans for Picard.
Yeah, I forgot about Star Trek doing that a lot with Worf and the other Spock even, but they're humanoid. They're very relatively as human. They might be blue or green or
When you call central casting, you're going to get a human actor.
Exactly, it makes it harder. We were talking earlier about like Bright, where they're trying to depict orcs in Los Angeles, and that's a little better because they don't look human. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they're humanoid, but they don't look human. It's really hard to do in film, maybe, but in a book, I think that's because somebody's mind can draw their own picture of what this thing looks like.
Right. Then you could have squid things or worm things, or even in like Hitchhiker's Guide, the Hoovaloo, right? The super intelligent shade of the color blue that's been refracted to a prism so you can see it. Okay, you could have anything. Yeah, and
that's a really good example of the creative sort of bringing in this new idea, like square planets and things, that you don't see in nature, but it allows your brain to chew on something besides sort of the standard trope of guy puts on armor, white guy puts on armor and sword and runs around and he solves everything. That's
well, somebody in my writers group has said that he calls it the 2-4 rule. The farther something gets from 2 eyes and 4 limbs, the harder people have a time deal with it. So like an insect, well, maybe it looks like it has 2 eyes, even if they're compound eyes, and 6 limbs, so that's kind of weird. But then spiders have all these little eyes, and they got 8 limbs, that's even weirder. And then you got like centipedes, and then that's just like, wait, you don't want to be around one of those, right? So by like breaking the 2-4 rule with your aliens can run up against some like hardwired maybe human prejudices where it's like this thing has poison fangs and it has 100 legs and it looks like a big bug kind of thing. Therefore, I don't know how to react to it or something.
But at the same time, it's that very reaction, that sort of, oh, look, it's a giant bug, maybe I should kill it, and oh, it talks. Wait a second. Now you have that interplay where, sure, you're going to get stuck on this for a bit, and it may take more explaining, and maybe it's not interesting. I don't know, but I think it's worth exploring because you can't prove that it's not conscious. You know what I mean? You can't just use your prejudices. I think dissolving prejudices is very interesting, and to put things in intentionally so people have to face that 2-4 rule or something in their own mind is very interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, if we ever do meet aliens, I mean, there's, I would think, zero chance they will look like us.
Yeah.
Because we are just a product of whatever evolution managed to, by happenstance, end up here, right? But it's not going to end up the same way somewhere else when circumstances are different. So.
Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson says, you're like 2% different from an ape or something. He's like, now imagine the thing that flew here is only 2% different than you. But, that 2% would be so much, the difference is so huge. They'd be like, oh, wow, you can do quadratic equations. My kindergartner does those. See them on my fridge? It's
right. Yeah.
It's probably going to be a lot scarier than any movies ever imagined it.
Although I assume probably if they are exploring, they probably have maybe nanobots exploring the universe and not themselves.
Yeah, that was also interesting. I forgot who said that. That would be. That was probably you were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. I mean, it's much cheaper. Yeah.
Cheaper to send some sort of nanobot and have it come back.
I think they tried. Was it movie with names today, or I'm just blowing it. But the one where she has to try to figure out how to communicate with the aliens, and they kind of communicate in symbols. They kind of are very temporary symbols, and they kind of like or make them in smoke and stuff. And it involves like their whole sense of time is different because they like see the past and present future at the same time or something. They're trying to really get across something that is alien, right? That how are you going to talk with someone that doesn't think like you even or doesn't experience time like you?
Right.
So.
Yeah, it sort of ruins a lot of alien tropes though, because why would they try and invade you? I mean, they just flew across endless space. They could do whatever they wanted. So I'm not sure they would be terribly hostile. They'd just be like, hey, we're taking a sandwich and we're out of here. You know what I mean? What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Okay, final thoughts on monsters, Ben?
No, just a chance to do something different.
Yeah, so if you're a writer and you want to do something different, maybe think about putting some monster main characters in there. All right, so we'll see you for the next episode. Remember the like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.